don't think I need to introduce Pauline, but I will, because I'm very excited about it. I was so excited to meet you this morning, Pauline, and excited to hear that you're going to be a part of Monsterama. One of my favorite hammer gals, Pauline, or is it Peart?
Peart.
Peart, okay.
Yes.
Meant to ask you that before.
Well, it's like heart with a P.
Okay, okay.
But I don't mind. I've been called Peart, Part, Tart, Heart. So I take anything that's going, as long as it's meant in a nice way.
Thank you, Louise. Okay. I just wanted to put it to the test. That's
Yes, that's good. And thank you all for coming. And this is like my first time.
okay, well,
here.
all right. I'm gonna leave you
You
hanging.
better
Just
not.
gonna sit back. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm ready.
I guess I'm gonna cut to the first one that I remember seeing you in, and that was the Satanic Rites of Dracula. I was a big Hammer fan, and probably a lot of people sitting here right now are also huge Hammer fans. And that was coming, as we were talking about this a little bit this morning, sort of at the tail end of the vampire stuff that Hammer was doing. And remind me, that yours came after AD 72, so you were the last one.
72 AD. It was the last one, only that they were having difficulty with Warner Brothers, and Voice Gates, the producer, said, why? There's still 5 outstanding pictures that they're still trying to get made. And when they casted me, I was then part of the group. And we did Satanic Rites. However, it was called Dracula is Dead and Well and Living in London. So you can imagine that. Here's a long mouthful to say. So in the end they changed it to Satanic Rites. But otherwise the working title in the script itself was Dracula is Dead and Well and Living in London.
It almost sounds like a comedy.
Well,
Because years later, a comedy was made called Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's probably wise that you used the title like that.
Yes, Don Hoyton, having written it, said we'll then use it as the working title. It won't go out, no one will believe you, no one will believe it. It doesn't sound like a real vampire movie.
It doesn't, no.
It doesn't, so there you go. So then throughout the entire filming, it was called that. And then when it released a year or 2 years later, because they had problems, they then changed it to Satanic. And you know it. And I'm sure you know it better than I do. Because I think they had issues with me being in it at the time. And Roy was insistent that I'm staying. And so a lot of ways on the cutting floor or somewhere in a can somewhere. And one day, some of it will be seen. And as for Christopher Lee, he just liked standing there, so he didn't care whether he was on the floor or in a can somewhere, but they had to have him because he's one of the major characters.
It was a time when Hammer, I think just before that was the Scars of Dracula, if I'm not mistaken. I always get the timing of what came out when, because you had Dracula AD 72 and then Scars and then Satanic Rites, and you could tell that Hammer was getting a little tight financially, or they were having some problems.
It wasn't so much with the money, it was the control that the major studio had over them. When they had their own, as you know, if you control your own destiny, or something you manufacture yourself or design, you don't have anyone saying you cannot do it that way. We don't want that. And they held the string, you might say. So they started to become a puppet on the string. They didn't have the leeway they had prior to them taking it over and the career selling it. So that was a problem.
Right, yeah, the studio control was starting, because I did. Now, when you got into the business, what was it still sort of that old system? If you signed with a studio or whatever, they basically controlled everything that you did. You had to get permission from.
Yes, and the same with. I was at the time doing a play called Birds of Paradise, and they said, I don't think we're going to give you the time to do it. We don't want you falling. You have to wear this. I had to wear this exotic costume where I've got this top and bottom. And Robert Coote, I don't know if you know of Robert Coote in Moralister. But on the play I had to jump off something and land, and they thought that was enough. Because if anything happened to me there, I can't do the film, and if anything happened to me on the film, the play, so their contract was really, really hard. And in the end, I said, pretty please, I promise I won't break my neck. And all that happened, they chained me up, and that's it. I didn't have anything really, really dangerous to do. The play was more dangerous than
Absolutely. Except dying.
Yes. Dying was hard.
It is.
Yes. In that, I don't know if many of you are not wearing glasses, so if in that area you had contact lenses, and they were hard contact lenses, and being blind already, I had to wear contact lenses. And in that dying scene, they had to pour the, sort of turn the sprinkler on, but put water on me. And they kept dropping in my eye, and I had to keep going. I couldn't die for nothing. Before they dropped 2-3 drops on my face, I was blinking, I was closing my eyes, and I went, oh no, this cannot continue. And he says, we want you to die with your eyes open. I said, you lie down and let me pour water in your eyes and then see how you keep it open for that long. In the end, I said, can I just suggest, please let me suggest, let me take the contact lenses out. But by then, I didn't realize that my eyes were red. And I said, oh, as soon as, don't pour it here, pour it up here, and then I'll gradually die, and I'll close my eyes. So they poured the water at the top of my forehead, and then gradually I went, and I said, I'm closing my eyes. And I did. And that's how I got through that scene. It was a bit embarrassing, but it wasn't bad.
How old were you when you did Satanic Rites?
19.
19, so you were just getting going.
Yes.
Now, you had studied at the Royal Academy?
Yes. At RADA.
I want to go back a little bit on
before
how did you get into all of this? Was this something that as a kid you always wanted to do?
Yes, and I was the one who stood on the table at the house and got told off to get down and stop embarrassing myself, and I'm ashamed of you. And I would still say, oh, but Dad, it's so marvelous. And he would say things like, Pauline, make sure when the people come, you get out of the room. And when I would wait, and then I'd say, good evening. And then I'd say, my dad is inside. And he'd say things like, Pauline, And that tells you everything. You know, fathers and mothers, they don't have to talk and say what they want. They just look at you, they call your name, and you know exactly what they meant. And so I had that. And yes, I went on, and the school I went to had a Shakespearean teacher, and so that we did drama there.
Nice.
And I then went into modeling at an early age too, and I was really banned from it, I was told.
Did you say banned or bad?
Banned from doing it. My dad said no, but my mother said okay, and so I did. I did exactly what one wanted, and then I went and did exactly what the other wanted. Then I did what I wanted.
So that's how you sort of slid into the acting side?
Balance it out, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tell me about getting, a lot of folks in this country might not understand what it takes to get into the Royal Academy, to study there, but I mean, that had to be quite a challenge for her.
Well, it was, but I wasn't even there long enough. When I went there, I had a term, and then they said, there's a play in Yarmouth. It's a summer season, and you are perfect. And I went, let me go and read for it. I'd love it. And it was called Don't Tell the Wife. It was a comedy. And it's almost about when the wife's away, all these ladies who thought this house was supposed to be a bed and breakfast,
right.
And they take people in, but they didn't expect so many ladies. So whenever she went away, all of us would attack this poor man. And that was Jack Douglas. I don't know if you know anything of Jack Douglas. He did Carry On Girls, the Carry On films.
Oh, yes.
And he does the Twittering and things like that. Yes, so I did my first play with him. And then...
Did that open the door for the Carry On movie?
No, not till later.
Not till later, okay.
Yes, when Brian Clemens said, I saw you in something, no sex please, you're British.
Oh, that's a great show.
I had great titles, you know,
great show.
and it always relate to the husband and wife or the son coming back, and so everything. There were comedies at that time. I decided that if I mastered that, the rest would become easier.
Did it?
It did.
Yeah.
I could handle it.
Yeah.
Without laughing myself. And not being able to see, like you're all a blur to me right now. I could get up and make a fool of myself and not know anyone. That's why I took my glasses off, because I'd be able to look at George. Or Joe.
Much easier looking George when he's
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And I had the pleasure of meeting Dwayne. So if I had my glasses on, I'd be able to see all your eyes and faces. The minute I took them off and I made sure I didn't wear contact lenses, I can't see you all. So I can look in your direction, and it didn't matter because I couldn't tell who was anywhere. And so I could afford to make a fool of myself. And it's when, you know, that when you learn something and you can cock up and still pick up later on and carry on, because no one really knows about it except yourself, because you're not looking and going and realizing, you just carry on. So I became good at that. So
That was a great segue out of the Carry On back into, because I'm curious about your Carry On experience. That series is one of my guilty pleasures. I mean, it was like some of the first British comedy that I watched growing up. And they were so hysterical. Of course, you know, back then, they were a little racy for, you know, for what you were seeing Main Street back then. I think that's why we guys and with my age were like, sort of liked them, because they pushed the limit a little bit.
It was. It was racy, but we call it. It was bra tits and pants time.
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
That's it.
But my contract was I will not appear in anything. That's my limit. And there are a few pictures out with Valerie Leon and myself in Carry On Girls. So, having done Birds of Paradise in the West End, I did the Hammer picture. They allowed me to do it, and then I would continued. And they would let me go back in time to do the play in the evening. And they worked around the matinees. When I finished that, I went out. I was asked to come to Pinewood Studio for an interview. And I saw Brian Clemens at the same time. But I was going for Space 1999, and they asked me at the time, could I shave my hair off? And I said, well, yes, if it's worth my while. No, if the producer of Birds of Paradise says no, I cannot, because why can't I wear a wig? And he said, but the whole idea is that we want you skull. And I said, wig skin, a scalp sort of thing could do it. Sure. And then I could wear a wig. They said, no, we want it to be natural. And I said, I can't go bald at this time.
How old are you, like in your 20s?
Just turning 20 before Halloween Day, my birthday. So I was waiting, and I said, well, nobody's going to want to go out with me with no hair. And so they said, well, when could you do it? I said, give me 2 weeks and I get through Halloween and my birthday, and I will ask. At the time, John Gale was the producer of the No Sex, Please, We're British, which I had done earlier on, but Birds of Paradise as well. And I asked, and he said, under no circumstances you can do it. I said, oh, please, at least let me go through. Oh, you know, they can do a test shot, they can do this. And he says, no. But I went anyway. I did. And I asked them to just put a sort of skull on me.
Yes, skull cap.
Yeah, see how it would look. And they said, oh, your face is fine. We'll take a model of it. So they took a model of my head, a cast, and that look. And then painted it. And then he wouldn't release me, so the answer is no, I didn't get to do it. I had to stay in the play after all that. So I didn't do that. And from that I went on to do the balcony.
Right, okay.
As you know. So at the time, you might find yourself doing one thing, get something else, and can't do it anyway. And I used to follow Caroline Monroe, Martina Bestwick, Valerie, because I was younger than they were. So
did they corrupt you like they did everyone else?
Oh God, and how?
I know Caroline used to brag about it all the time.
Yes, she does. And I'm looking forward to early part of next year. Can you imagine all 4 of us on the same set?
Oh, where are you going to be?
Well,
oh, you can't say?
We can't say at the moment, but
that is exciting.
we're going to Veronica Carson,
Absolutely, yeah. No, I know what happened. I know when Martina and Caroline and Veronica get together.
Yeah, so they're
Yeah.
bad, and I
Look for
have
the
to
newspaper
follow.
headlines, because they can get pretty wild.
I have to follow them around. Now, all of us are going to be at the same place, on the same set, on the same days, and I think, oh God.
I want to read for that film. Okay. I'd like to be a part of that. That just sounds like too much fun.
It will be. No, we'll have fun. And I'll tell you about it when they give us the okay.
Yeah, I was gonna. I know how that is. Yeah,
Yeah, you do.
Got that non-disclosure thing going.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about, you did a film. I didn't realize that I had not seen this film in so long. I'd forgotten you were in it. When I think it was shot in Great Britain, but I'm not sure. Cuba. Did you do with Sean Connery?
Ah, yes. And
Because
Dan
I'd forgotten you
Elliott
worked with him.
and Jack Weston.
Yep.
And,
A great cast.
It was. Actually, we did it on location in Spain.
Spain, okay.
Yeah, Cadiz. We were going to go to Cuba itself because it's set in Havana, and whatever issues or problems or political problems, location had to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided that Cadiz was perfect, and it picked up the same things they wanted. So we did it out there, and yes, that was fun. That was good.
Now I'm trying to remember. Did you have any one-on-ones with Sean Connery?
Only in the casino, but I had to learn Spanish to work with Jack Weston. Like Time is Money. I was playing his girlfriend, but a girlfriend he picked up in the casino. And then I had to rip him off. And he used to say things like, "Oh my God, Pauline, I've got to learn my lines today. You're not going to do anything to me." And I would wait like how you're sitting there. I would then creep up and undo his shirt, because I had to go and do this bedroom scene with him, and I needed to feel more comfortable, and he was saying, "Well, I'm not sure it's a good idea." I said, "But, well, if you bought me, you have to, and if I'm going to rip you off, how are you going to not stay in the room for me to rip you off, and you go in the bed and I can rip you off, and you're talking about time is money and all that, so something's got to give." And so just like he's sitting there and I'll undo his shirt button, I'll start up here, or he'll be lying there and have something, and I'll just take it off. But he was fully clothed underneath that, but it was how to imply that he was. And so he became comfortable and I became comfortable. So we got through that. So yes, and then we used to, rehearse with each other as a group. And so it became easier for all of us.
That was a pretty good little movie. I remember when it was released here in 1979, and it did a pretty brisk business here initially when it was first released here in the United States.
Yes, it did. It did pretty well in London as well, but they delayed it because at the same time Sean didn't want to do any more of the Bond picture.
Right, I was going to say this is right after Diamonds Are Forever.
Yes, and he had some problems. And I don't know if you know at the time, and you probably all know, when the studios own you at that time, and you might as well say own, or you're working for them, they didn't pay out royalties, so it would be a flat fee. Later on that came. And so he didn't earn a fortune as the other Bond stars like Roger Moore and that. He's opened the door, set the pace, or set the... But they came along and they read all of how he did it, what he did. But he got a flat fee. We all did. There was no percentage as now. And he wanted to leave because they offered him Red October, I think, after that.
Mm.
And it went for everyone on that picture. And even later on, it wasn't until 2002, 2003 that SAG and Equity.
Yeah, it took a long time.
It took a long time to keep fighting for it.
Mm.
And then we got royalty, but all the earlier things, I get no royalty from, or anyone. Barbara Windsor doesn't get royalty. St. James didn't get royalty for the Carry On until the later ones. And neither did Sean. He didn't get anything. He got a flat fee, or payment, whatever you want to call it. But that was that.
Yeah, a lot of the TV shows we grew up with, we were stunned to learn that, you know, most of these very famous television stars got no residuals off of these films that are in syndication for years and years and years and years and years.
It's only the new ones. If they were paid 20,000 or 5,000 a week or 2,000 a week, because at that time as well, it was always considered a working actor, and even the tailors and the gardeners and that, they might have been earning 30,000, but it was flat 30,000 or 50,000 for the year, and including Sammy Davis, including all the other actors that you can think of. Even Frank Sinatra didn't earn all that.
That's right.
He got to the point. So neither did we in London, and we earned less than what LA was earning.
Mm-hmm.
But we were still as good, and our studios were still producing the same films, and they would come there. And the government at that time were really into art. So they could come and use the location and not pay taxes. After the changes, then, which was ridiculous, but that's what happened. They said, you have to pay taxes, you can't just come and use the streets, whereas before they could, the police would just spell them out, stop the traffic, you could film, all that went. And then it started to cost a lot more.
Yeah. What about television? Did you have, as you were going back and forth between you're doing theater, doing films, any television opportunities come your way?
I did some of the Saints with Ian Ogilvy.
I knew you were in a couple of episodes of the series.
I did The Persuaders with Tony Curtis and Roger Moore. I did, I co-hosted one of those game shows. I did Oneida Line, and I played the princess in it, Pocahontas, and I did that. Yes, I Crossroads, things like that. You're working, but I preferred to dash back to the theatre because I love the interaction and finishing at 10:30 at night, and then I can still go and do location work as long as it's within 30, 40 minutes. Our train system is pretty good. If you have been to London, haven't you? Somewhere or near enough, or in Atlanta here, where your transit around Georgia is very fast moving. The same with the inner city of London. So you can get from A to B within 30 minutes. So that worked.
Now did you eventually move to the United States, or
I did.
started spending some more time here? I know there was a stretch there.
Yes, they kept calling me back. I came out here and I did fashion order at the Fox Theatre, and I did some other plays of around town or reading. And I did a chat show here called Perception.
That's what I wanted you to
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that, since that was done right here in Atlanta.
It was here after doing a fashion order and some modeling over there with Saks and Bill Blass. It was slightly about what people wanted and wanted to do, and I wanted to talk about their creation and same thing like their artwork, and I would invite them onto the show and let them show their work and talk about it, because that platform wasn't there. And then try and do each month one, like a room like this, so they could show their work. And so we were able to do that. So I thought that was fun. I loved that. I met lots of people. I ended up having lots of friends. And then I helped to promote, they had a music convention here.
Oh, okay.
So, yes, we were trying to get, at the time, by MTV.
Yeah.
And had problems with that, trying to buy it, because it was going, but it was how can someone from London want to get in that? So I didn't get it. It took 6 months, and it was getting on my nerves now, so I gave that up. But I kept Perception, because that was meeting all like you fantastic artists and people who were here doing other things, and it was your own platform. I just chat a lot of rubbish and say, tonight I have Anthony, and Anthony does this, and now Anthony's going to spend his entire evening talking about it, and I'd go, and that was it, and I'd make Anthony do all the work, because I didn't have enough insight on Anthony's stuff, but then I'd have a table, he would talk about his work, and it wasn't taking it away from him, it was his, and I was just there standing behind him and let him get on with it, and so I did that.
Yeah.
Some were paintings at the time. John Hoyland, a British artist that came out here, who's very well known, he's very, very big, he's died now, but had him too, because he was living in Atlanta here at the time. And look at our artists, and yeah, it worked. But I really wanted to do Your Place or Mine, which was another comedy.
It's a good show. Yeah, it's a good show.
It was really, really good. The pilot was good. It's about this person arriving here, and you had a house, and they let a room, and there was this writer, there was this journalist, and the lady who owns a shop down the road, and then there is me who walk in, don't know anything, be naive and dumb, make assumptions, and then this chap would always say, So Pauline, what are you going to do today? Wasn't the name, but I better use my own so I don't give away the plot. And I would say, well, I'm going to go downtown and I'm going to try and sell myself, not meaning I meant my work. And it would be always misinterpreted, and he'd say, you can't do that, they'll arrest you. So it was always double meaning. Everything I said meant something else. It was not the right thing. And I would say, oh, I think I have to go downtown and pick up somebody. And he said, you'll be in jail. And it meant that I'm going to drive my car, I'm going to pick up somebody who's waiting for me, but he never ever gives me the opportunity to finish what I'm saying. So there was that situation going on all throughout the pilot. And then, I don't know what happened. Ted Turner said they were going to shoot something else. But it was...
Blame it on Ted.
Yeah. But Jack Weston was absolutely brilliant, because he can... You all know him. He's fantastic.
He's a great character actor.
Yeah.
Very
Great actor, great person. Yeah.
Is there one thing that Pauline has always wanted to do as an actress? Still be the one role or one type of project that you would love to work on you haven't worked on yet?
Yes.
And not the one with Martine.
No. We're never going to mention that.
We're not going to mention
that
that.
happen. No. Currently, I'm writing something with someone else too, and I want to direct.
Yeah.
And I have started. I've done a trailer. And I'm hoping to finish that and then come back out here and produce it and direct it out here.
Wow, yeah, that's a director's
well, yes, I did the trailer last year, and it was a Dracula, because also my daughter was in it, and a chap called Thomas Maylott, and he was playing the Dracula. And having done that trailer, I realized that I wanted to do it. So he said to me as well, would you come back and direct this? So I want to go back and direct that, but I also want to do my own.
Yeah.
So I think I have enough friends that we could do it together and to make it work, and we could all act in it as well, and whatever, make take it forward.
Will that be a production here or Great Britain, or have you decided yet?
I think it'll be here.
Here? Okay.
Yes.
I've been bugging her about moving to Atlanta. I was bugging her during lunch about that. This would be a perfect place for you.
It would be. Let's ask them something. I don't like just you asking me questions.
You want me to throw it to the audience?
No, I want to ask each of them something.
Oh, you want to ask
You've
them?
been asking me too much.
Ah, okay.
So, let's start with you. Which film did you see that you liked that relates to me?
Actually, I saw many of the Hammer movies as a youngster, mostly, when I was a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not entirely sure that I saw you in this particular film, unfortunately. I remember one where Christopher Lee falls down and is impaled on a cross, for example, at the end. And, bits and parts of the Hammer films, but it's been a long time, mostly since I've seen the Hammer films. So I wasn't really entirely familiar with you, but I love, I still have great love for the old Hammer films, and that's why I'm here.
Well, that's good. It doesn't have to be even about me. It's that company, that time,
Indeed.
and I think we all grew up on it. And I think as children, probably frightened the hell out of us, but
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely.
mother says no, it's your bedtime, and you still sneak up to watch it. So yes, I think it was always gory, but not to the extent that they do it in today's day and age.
Indeed.
Yeah, it was great.
And Hammer's trying to reinvent themselves now, so.
Yes.
We have a Pinewood Studios here, so who knows?
Yes.
Another reason to consider Atlanta.
Yes. Yes. You keep. He's going to bribe me and blackmail me. And
I'm working on it, yeah.
He's doing a good job so far. I can tell you this. So, what about?
Well, I recently just saw Satanic Rites of Dracula again, and did enjoy it. Actually, I've never had great taste in films, so.
Join the club.
But I also remember, and it's been years, but I saw almost all the Carry On films.
Yes.
And honestly cannot remember anybody from them, but I remember how funny they were. And
Yes.
how, at the time, really they were, to me, they were risque. I was thinking.
Oh, no, they're hysterical.
They were. That's why we call it.
They were
tits
naughty
and bombs.
comedies, I think is what they referred to
Yes,
as, but they were
yes.
so much fun.
Right. And they indirectly led me to Benny Hill, which is.
Yep.
Yes, he followed. Yes, yes.
Yeah, and
Oh, lovely. No, I love Carry On Girls. I did Carry On Girls. And I think I opened the door for black artists at the time. As I said, it was something that they didn't want, and because it was not the done thing, and that's as much as I'm going to say about all that. But Clement said, you have to have her, we're having her, and there's nothing else about it. So I became, and that's that. And it was funny for us because we all had, there's this scene where we had itching powder thrown on us when we were going down the catwalk, and these ladies, these vicious little ladies are upstairs pouring this itching powder, and we're walking, supposed to be filming, walking down the runway, looking quite elegant and beautiful, and falling down, because they also, the little rotters, poured some slimy, slippery thing, and we were landing on our asses, the feet in the air, the men in the was going, this is what we paid our money for, some beauty contest. This is terrible. And then, somebody's wig would be taken off because we're trying to hold up, so we're going, grabbing the press, and going by, you see somebody going by, and you go, and you're going to, and all this was happening. So consequently, Carry On Girl became one of their funny ones as well. And that was taking it even further, because they had not done camping. Carry On Camping was good.
Is classic. Yeah.
That was the same sort of effect they wanted with the bikinis and the swimwear, and popping into the wrong tents and going into the wrong hotel room and being shocked by what you were seeing in front of you, and that's what they were doing at the time. So, yeah, I love Carry On Girls, and I must say I had fun memories, even going to Portsmouth to do it. Yeah.
Next victim.
I have not seen any of those. I'm very similar, grew up watching Hammer films and still have a love for them. So I think what's exciting is I'm looking forward to going and seeing it. So, watching it coming out of here, because I always get a lot of things. I'm like, oh, I've never seen this. This looks really fun. And it's a thrill because I saw this person and have a little insight to it. So got me excited about it to watch it.
What about you?
I love the Hammer films. Where can I find the Carry On films? I've heard of them. I need to see them now.
They're available online. I mean, you can find online
Yeah,
copies
Amazon.
of it, whatever.
Yeah, Amazon.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was about 3 years ago. The company that distributes them is offering has a box set of DVDs.
Yeah, they restore
all
them.
of the Carry On films
Do they
together.
restore them, or are they still the transfers they did years ago?
He will be able to help you. Just send some.
Okay.
I've seen the box set offered. It may be available through Amazon.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, Amazon or a couple of those places. A quick search, you could probably find it.
It's a box set with virtually all of them.
Yeah, I think it's got all of them in there, if I'm not mistaken.
Great.
Of course, you got to make sure you look for her next film, which is going to be Carry On: The Satanic Rites of Dracula. She didn't want to say, but I'm going to spill the beans now. That's what she's writing right now.
Say too much. Go ahead.
Sue me later.
I hope I'm not out of line by saying this, but
Oh, be out of line.
I had never seen any Hammer horror movie until I was kind of going backward through like blaxploitation movies from the 70s, and then because to me, like, I was like, Hammer was a bunch of stuffy white people, old, that kind of thing.
Old people like us.
Well, but I started.
Like him. I'm
I started
taking
reading
myself
this,
out of that
I'm
equation.
sorry, I didn't mean to include you.
I started reading this blog called Graveyard Shift Sisters, and it's centered on black women in horror movies. And there's this whole history that people like me just weren't getting from the magazines that we would read or the TV show interviews.
Never was mentioned.
So I'm at the second Howling movie has Marsha Hunt as the first black werewolf.
Yeah.
And then I go, well, I got to see more Marsha Hunt, so I see 1972 Dracula 1972 AD, which ends up being my first Hammer horror movie. And I found out there's a sort of a sequel to it, right, called Satanic Rites of Dracula.
Yeah.
Then I see you. And then I saw you today, and like I said, I hope this is not out of line.
No, that's
you're
okay.
cool in the movie, but right now you're a total knockout. So to know that you're going to make a new movie to me is even more exciting. I hope that's okay to say.
Oh, I think it is. I think you have a right to.
You're safe. You're safe.
Yeah. I feel like
I won't bite him at the moment.
like, I don't know if the back row sees what I see, but definitely from up here, you belong back on the camera.
Well, I'll tell you why I stopped. I had to stop. And for the people who know me very well would know that at the time I had a decision to make. There was a New York show that I was supposed to come in to do. My husband was ill, and we had some daughters. And I had to toss, do I continue? Do I leave my children? Do I walk away? I have to get him through being ill. And I decided there's no thinking, no nothing. It became our children. And I said, right, I called them up in New York. My manager tried to talk me, and she says, but things are going so well for you. You're finishing the play, you can go to New York. And I went, and who look after my daughter? And who look after my husband? At that time, we had just found out that he had cancer. So I said, therefore, there's nothing to think about. I'm not doing it. Don't call me. I'll call you tomorrow. And the answer is no. And I didn't do any of the conventions. I didn't do anything. I just walked away. I decided I'd go back and become a lecturer because I was quite competent to do that. So I became a counselor and a lecturer. I went into early years education, and I taught education to people who wanted to at the college and uni. And then got my children through school. Within that time frame, my partner died, and I had to make sure I was there for my children. So we did that. Now the little suckers are grown people, and they make decisions for themselves, and they go to me like things like, "Oh, Mom, can't you go back to acting? Or why you? What's upsetting you? That student?" And I said, "Yes. She thinks she's walking away, and I'm going over to her house, and she says you can't do that." I said, "The same way I used to come to the school and put you in detention is the same way I'm going over there." And so I did. And I said, you can't just walk away. I don't have failures. You have to come back, and you've got to finish my course, and you've got to get that qualification and move on. And that's what. And after that, I stayed on till the girls, as I said, now they're in uni, they're working, and I don't need to be around. And last year I did Chiller Convention. And you wouldn't believe, that was my first. Now, I got talked into this. Now, you know I know nothing about all this. I've always said no. I love that word, no. It didn't matter what they were saying, I would say no. And I went, and you know what happened. I went to Chiller in New Jersey, Martine, Caroline, and myself, and Ian. And there was a bomb scare. And we had to vacate the hotel. Well, we didn't have much clothes on. As you know, we had a jacket and that. And it was cold. And it was coming up to October, and we were freezing, and the rain came down, and we were put outside. And I was standing there, just shivering, going, and I saw this man, and I said, "Please, can we sit in your car?" And Ian Ogilvy said, "I'm coming with you. You have the right idea. Wherever you go, I'm going." And then his wife came, and she said, "Oh my God, you haven't got much clothes on, you're freezing." So I said, "Yes." She said, "Sit in the car then." An hour went by, 2 hours. So I said, "We won't be able to go back into that hotel for a long time." There was ambulance, police, fire brigades, no one can go in. So we asked where was the nearest pub or bar or restaurant. And we took over. And for 5 hours we didn't go back into that hotel. So that was my first experience of doing these events. And I went, "I'm not doing it again. And I can't do this again." And then we went to Monster Mash in Whitby.
Is that the Pennsylvania one?
Yes.
Monster Mash?
Yes.
The big one?
More
Yeah.
problems. And I said, "That's it, I've got to give it up." It always something happened. And that was my second. So I said, "Do I dare take a third?" And Martine said, "Well, we're doing it, and you're coming, and that's all there is to it." And then this happened. So it has been, so I said, "Okay, I'm coming back. I'm still lecturing, but I'm still doing that." And so here I am, and oh wow, this is wonderful, but this is...
Maybe that's why Martine and Caroline aren't here this year.
No, we got booked for 2 things at the same time,
Yeah.
so they are at...
I hope we can book all of the 4 of you sometime.
Oh, God.
For this, because
it would
I've been
be-
warned what it gets like when you
It's
guys get
bad,
together.
they're
It's
bad.
Yeah, they are. Very bad.
They are really bad, that's all I know. Aren't you going to ask me that one, tell me that one question? You're running away.
Who's our next speaker?
I don't know.
Rob. Talk to Rob.
Really off topic, but I keep wondering, is that an owl on your necklace? Oh, yes.
I think I see two eyes, a little beak, and little ears.
That's
It is an owl's face?
Yeah, someone designed it for me to be here tonight. So she's a designer. She makes us one-off pieces, and she does it for the other ladies as well. So she said, well, if you're going to Atlanta to this Monsterama, you've got to have something different. So she
That's
made
different.
this.
Yeah.
So here I am
Yeah,
wearing it.
I like it. It's unusual.
Thank you. So
Let's get one of the gals to ask a question. I haven't had a gal ask a question.
oh,
Might be a little different perspective here. Anybody want to jump in on this and ask Pauline something?
or say something.
Or say something. You can say
related to
anything you
a
want.
film
I'm
you've
here
seen.
because I love horror and love Hammer.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up with Hammer and so forth. And I didn't grow up with the Carry On, although I'm familiar with it. But my dad took me to Horror of Dracula at the High Museum in a series of Dracula films, and then I just watched all the Hammer. And I've seen, I don't know if I've seen them all, but I've seen a lot of them. So it's just really cool to have you here. But I'm also just fascinated with everything you're talking about, working in the British theater scene and working with film in general, those kind of anecdotes. So I'd love to hear more about what it was like to be an actress in Britain in the 70s. And any kind of anecdote about that is fascinating to me.
Yeah, well, in the 70s, you were more structured. You didn't, although they had the drama queens or the, oh yes, it was never done so much. The half is the half, and you had to be there and be ready. The prejudices did still exist at that point, but only to a certain extent, because certain producers would not have it, because they themselves had come up through the realm. They have also worked as an actor and then wanted to be a director or start to produce. And some of them went through a lot of situations. So when they said, would you like to, you jumped to the occasion, you wanted to do it. And it was the only way you were going to learn. And you would end up, and prefer to say two lines like, yes, sir, or hell no, on stage, or carry a spare to be on it, and then the next one will turn up and you do something else. And so you had to work your way through and up the ladder. And if you were fortunate and got shows like Maura Lister and Fenella Fielding, and you were going to work with Robert Coote or John Inman, and some of the American artists that came into London and wanted to do plays, and you became part of it. It might only run for 6 weeks or 2 weeks, but it was 2 weeks of hard going, and you would learn, and you learn your craft, and you could get your 5 shillings for the week's work, and you move on. And if that's what you really wanted to do, is what you focus on. And that became your world. And a lot of other things, there are lots of things that went on, everyone knows. It always went on in the music industry, went on in every industry. But if you focus on what you wanted to do, and had that discipline, then you will carry on. Because nothing is easy. It doesn't matter what any people say and whatever field you go in, nothing is easy unless you have that silver spoon in your mouth. You have to work at it. You can't just pick up a brush and become an artist. You have to practice it, and you get better and better at it. And there are so many writers in here as well, and art journalist. You didn't just become a DJ overnight. You had to work on it and become a blogger or whatever they call some of them. You really don't, and you have followers. You start off with one, and then somebody else join it, and you enjoy to see what they're doing, so you become party with it. So in every area, every aspect of the industry, even the cameraman, he didn't just become a cameraman. He had to practice taking a picture of that, looking at this film with it. No, I could do it better from this angle, and then I will have somebody stand there. They do it. We all do it. Sorry, but that's how I look at everything. So.
We've got time for one more, so either
And
somebody can throw a
out.
question out here, or you can pick on somebody.
Oh God, don't let me pick on anyone. Oh, there's that lady at the back, and there's that chap at the back,
Okay.
and there's that chap. Let's see. What do they say? 1, 2, 3, 1. Oh, you in the middle.
Well, I don't know if I have a question. I just like the films in the sense of, even though they were horror films and they had this backstory of Dracula, I thought the glamour for the women was fantastic. It just was hyper feminine, and everyone was just flawlessly gorgeous in the gowns. And I guess the only question I would have is, how did you keep your boobs in those low cut?
Well,
That's a good question, because we as guys asked that a lot growing up watching those films.
they used to make these undercups, yes, that would be cut halfway. And the cup itself, I'm holding my I'm giving up. I'm done here.
Thank you
I'm
so much for
giving up.
that.
But they used to make it in a V, and so the weight of the tit would go down there, but it would then hold it that way
So it was
up.
perky, okay, and it would
Yes.
swing, okay.
Yes, and it became
Those
natural.
ladies, they're only three.
And even the dresses used to have that put into it.
Okay,
Yeah.
why did they keep those up? That sounds fantastic.
Well, the designers came up with other more waisted and cups, bras, and that. So that's that. And I'm not going to put myself in this situation and give them. And you did it, didn't you?
I did. I waited an hour for that question. Well, we won't get into any more parts of the anatomy.
Yes, please.
We are out of time, unfortunately.
Oh.
Folks, I could go on. I could listen to you forever here, Pauline. But
I just talk around the world. I make
you've got
YouTube.
so much to talk about. Let's give it up for Pauline.